Evening, everyone. Is this on? There we go. Good evening. It is 6 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. 7 o'clock. Okay, start over. 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome, welcome. We're going to start off tonight with our presentation on the 2026 budget. Jim, come forward.
Couple things to go over. I was asked to come up with a $250,000 reduction in the budget. So I wanted to go over real quick kind of how we get to this point. So it's clear that this is not the first time that I have gone through this budget. We have gone through this budget meticulously and made cuts. And you want to bring the first slide up? So when we talk about personnel requests, every department will turn in personnel requests with 2 or 3 pages of information on why it's needed to justify the position. And I don't know overall how many I got, but I narrow those down based on kind of what Matt and I talk about as far as what our budget flexibility is and the possibility at that time, because we don't know what the final valuation is going to be. So I narrow it down to what I believe are the positions that are critical, that are justified to move forward. And the positions on this list were positions that at the time they were submitted and reviewed, I thought they were justified to put in this budget. Every one of those was cut because we didn't have money in the budget to do it. So we do this with equipment, we do this with IT. So this was a process that to go back and find $90,000, I had to get creative to do that. So if you go to the next page, so to get that, I wanted to make sure that we weren't making cuts that would defer maintenance or that were just kicking the can down the road. So the first cut I'm proposing is reduce the budget for the Independence Day celebration from 125 to 100. That would mean a combination of more local talent versus national talent and possibly a shorter fireworks show. The next one is remove all promotions and reclasses. Every year we go through and look at positions for internal, external equity. There were 9 positions that justified making an adjustment. That was $40,000. The next one is to shift funding for the holiday and park lights. That was pretty easy. We were just shifting it to another fund. And then the last one is to eliminate the employee engagement budget of $15,000. That funds Employee Appreciation Week and other events throughout the year. And that gets us to the $90,000. Questions?
Thank you, Jim. Questions? Steve, did you have something?
To be honest with you, I understand the issues around employee engagement. You want to have employees feel like they're valued. I feel like we do that within the course of our work within the community, within the city. I hate to see that go, but if we have to do that to get a $250,000, I'm happy to do it. I've actually had conversations with Jason in the past about Independence Day and how it's getting more and more expensive to get talent every year, especially those national names. Sometimes we've been able to make wine out of water and get things done for less than we would have expected to get it done, but that is happening less and less frequently. So I understand that would be a significant sacrifice if we were to do that. I am concerned about the promotions and reclasses. How many positions are we talking about with regard to the additional staffing that was requested within the budget process? mean, I know we cut 6.
Mhm.
Which ones did we keep, the additional positions?
The ones that were mostly utilities.
Mostly?
Not just anything. That's
Nothing general fund specific?
There's one that's partially that we got key specials.
Okay, so that is that's a shared services role, correct?
Mhm.
So you pay partially through every department basically chips in, which includes utilities. Okay. What's the general fund portion of that?
That is a priority for us. We've been putting off for a number of years.
I understand
We are
that.
falling behind in our RMS
Mhm.
obligations for the police department, and the chief put a high priority on that as well.
On the IT specialist position?
Yes.
I understand the institutional prioritization of these, but I also understand that we're spending the taxpayers' money. And right now, we are losing, we're actually losing lower income people that are in this community that have to move out. And I understand it's not just us. The county is a major portion of that. The school district is a major portion of that. But that doesn't mean we have to follow along with the school district and the county. Somebody's got to draw the line. And that's why I'm saying if these have to happen, if these sacrifices need to be made, I think that it's time to make them now. And if we grow our way out of it, and I think we will, because I don't think that 2% is a realistic gauge of growth for our community. Now I understand we also have county and state elements of this that we can't control, but we will be growing at a greater rate than 2% in terms of our revenues. I mean, it's clear. We've got another hotel coming in. We've got TJ Maxx. We've got Five Below. We've got a bunch of restaurants. We've got a lot of retail coming in. That's the whole reason why we did what we did in the last 10 years to try to stimulate commercial development, was so that we could get the burden off of the citizens for the tax base. So if that's coming, and it's coming next year, the hotel may not be coming next year, it may be coming in 2027, but again, these projections are 5 years out. They're not next year. These are 5-year projections. In some cases, they're 10-year projections. I think those projections are low. But that's my own personal feeling on this. So,
Well, there's also another element that I've talked about before, is we spend down our fund balance. We have to arrest the fall at some point.
yes, we do.
So, I mean, that's going to play, that's one of the things that we faced right before the pandemic, is that fund balance was going down 3-4% and below our target. And if it wouldn't have been for the pandemic and the cuts that we made, we would have been in trouble.
And we made some
we
pretty
would
deep
have
cuts.
faced a
Yeah.
deficit. We would have had to start making internal cuts in personnel and other critical services to arrest the fall, because you can't, the growth in salaries and inflation and stuff is going to continue.
Yep.
And if you're intentionally spending down the fund balance, something's got to stop that fall when you
I
get down
agree.
to your target.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons why I'm loath to include additional positions unless they're critical positions, because that is a cumulative expense. Every year that's going to go up. Every year it's going to add on. And it's going to add on at the rate of 5 to 6% a year typically, because you're not just talking about salary, you're talking about benefits. And as the benefits get higher, you're going to see higher expenses there. That's why I'm talking about, I understand that one IT analyst position is something we've been deferring for years. And maybe next year we look at bringing it back in, but if we remove that one position, we've fixed up, and we include the other cuts here, we would be well under that, or well over that $90,000 mark.
So you're suggesting eliminating the position?
I suggest limiting the IT analyst position.
Jim, I had a couple of questions for you too.
Okay.
Steve,
Uh,
hang on, Steve, are you?
No, I'm saying if we eliminate the IT analyst, what portion of that again is from general fund?
About 39,000.
About 39,000? Okay. Is there any possibility that shared services position can be, the burden on that shared services position can be assumed by the other departments a little bit more
It's primarily for justice.
for the Justice Center? So that's really, there's not really any real flexibility on that then. Okay. I'd be willing to wait on one more year for that position, if that gives us the mill reduction just by doing that. And the employee engagement and the independent stay.
Steve?
Yeah, just a couple of things, Jim. Thank you for putting this together. I appreciate it.
Sure.
As I look at this, the Independence Day celebration, is there any reason we can't start trying at this point today to start seeking more commercial and
Corporate
corporate sponsorships to make up that difference? It doesn't seem like it's that huge, and maybe if we could get some people in the area to contribute more to that fund, maybe we could keep the national talent. Just putting that out as a thought. Another one, same way with the holiday lights. You know, maybe we could start trying to seek sponsorships from the community and businesses, industry in industry in that area. And if I remember, when you had your staff positions up, a $65,000 employees, over 100,000 loaded out the door. And the most expensive and fastest rising component of that would be healthcare. So, you know, if we can hold the line for just 1 year, one employee, we're there.
Well, the special parts
But that's
fund-
only delaying it, the problem, pushing it down the road, because then if you delay that for a year, you also have these other 6 positions we've already delayed a year. So
Well,
then you have 7 positions, and then if we need
Sure.
anything additional, I mean, that's not solving the problem. That's just
Well,
masking the problem.
Jim, here's the problem that families face, particularly families on fixed incomes. They don't get pay raises. They don't get other things. Costs go up. In the last 5 years in Johnson County, whether it's county, whether it's school district, whether it's city, our funding has went up 100%,
more than double.
more than double. And the people that we're taxing, their income hasn't went up double. And this, at some point, this gets to the point to where people can't afford to live in our community, or in Johnson County for that matter. And it just gets to a point to where, yes, hey, it sucks to have to do this, but I think it's coming to the point to where we've got to just start trying to tighten the belt a little bit and squeeze out everything we can. And at the same time, as Steve mentioned, maybe seek ways to generate, bring more businesses to town that'll pay sales tax and other things
And
like
we've-
that.
we've
And
made a-
we're there, but
We've
it's not
made
quite
a,
there.
We've made a movement in that area
Yeah.
because we said, you know, we're going to fund the position for business outreach. We've done that. I'm sure that, you know, that typically takes 18 to 24 months to bear fruit. We understand that. We've already got momentum. The momentum is there. I think that you've spoken with several people in the economic development sphere that are itching to get down here. We've got several things in the pipeline, a lot of them we can't talk about. But there is growth coming, and it's coming fast. And I think that deferring 1 year will give us more time to be able to bring the revenues in, and I think they will come in, that will be able to fully fund that position without having to hold the line on mill levy. I'm just saying, a mill levy hold for me personally means an 18% increase in city tax. That's unsustainable. And I'm not the only one in that boat. I've heard from many people who are in that same boat. We're having an average of 6.8%, right? Is that right, Matt? 6.8% on average increase in property valuations? 7.2 in residential?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So from a revenue, from an increase in valuations perspective for revenues for residential is slightly lower. So I think it's like, yeah, but you know, you're talking 6.8%, but that means half the people or more are going to be above that. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that right now in our community. So here's what I would do. I would take the 38,000? 39? Okay, so we can keep the promotions and reclasses with that $39,000 position. Then we look at the other stuff. We shift the funding for the holiday and park lights, and I'm surprised that hadn't happened before now, but I appreciate that you found a solution for that. That's great. That's a great idea. Employee engagement for 1 year, we can potentially find some folks who might be able to pay for that outside of city budget. We might be able to bring in a sponsor for that. Bring in a title sponsor for the Independence Day celebration. I don't know why that hasn't happened before now. I mean, you can answer. I'm sorry about that, but I think that it's time. I mean, we've got a big celebration. I don't understand why we don't have a title sponsor for it.
We have in the years past. Probably like the first or second year we did it, Pepsi was a title sponsor. It was like $5,000. We do market at the start of each year. We have a sponsorship brochure for the department.
Yeah.
So businesses can either sponsor sports leagues, uniforms, special events such as this and Boo Bash. So we do have lots of sponsorships. We have cup sponsorships
Okay.
for all of our pool and ball field cups.
Yep, I see
So
that.
we do have a sponsorship program. It's just whether or not we get sponsors.
Do you think that if we had a concerted effort to really push the Independence Day celebration, that we could get a potential title sponsor? That's a
25,000.
yeah.
Mhm.
25,000 is not,
not
a
that
very
much.
large sponsorship.
For
It
corporate,
really isn't.
it's not that big a deal.
For a big event like this, I've had $5,000 sponsorships for conferences.
Sponsor Independence Day.
You know,
Well, and next year is the 250th anniversary of the country, so we ought to be able to market that and be able to gain somebody that can step up to the plate on this.
Okay. Steve's, we've heard. You guys want to give your thoughts?
I appreciate the work you did, Jim.
and
your
I
team.
do too, by the way. I do.
I would agree that the promotions and reclasses, I think is not something that should be on this list. I don't think that's sustainable either for this year, because it's going to come back around next year too. I mean, but I guess I'm also concerned about deferring the staff or the position that you guys have deemed as necessary and required for this upcoming year. So, as I fully understand your positions, I again believe that the holding the line at where we're at with the current mill, like we had the last couple of years, is not a crazy or absurd idea for as low as it is. And we continue to talk about waiting another year and the growth that we've continued to see as a city and as a community continues to help keep us afloat. I know we're breaking over and making decisions about the hotel space and the continued growth on the other side of I-35 to continue to cut some of these, and there's some changes in here that I think make complete and total sense. I think we're going to have a hard time finding $25,000 in the city to sponsor the Independence Day celebration, but I mean, we need to look. I'm just concerned about continuing to cut for the sake of cutting.
We're not cutting for the
We're
sake
not
of
taking-
cutting.
Okay.
And by the
That
way,
was-
this is not.
I am stating my
appreciate
position, and we listened intently.
Yeah, but this isn't cutting for the sake of cutting. I'm sorry.
Okay, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm not okay with any sort of cuts to employee internal in the equity and the promotions and reclasses. And quite frankly, the Employee Appreciation Week, we sit up here meeting after meeting praising staff members for their work, getting awards, making us all look good. And to sit there and say that you're not worth a promotion or even an appreciation week seems unkind.
I didn't come up with these cuts, Casey.
I'd like to mention something else. Matt, you mentioned a number that concerned me a lot. And that's the property values are rising at the rate of 7.2, which is actually low for the last 4 years. It's been bigger than that in the last 4. At 7.2% per year, it compounded using the rule of 72, which you probably know well. That means our property taxes will double in the next 10 years.
Again,
Right, I understand, but 7.2% per year compounded is 10 years. It means the amount of the money that is being collected will double in 10 years. And when you start stacking that onto the back of a homeowner, it becomes pretty unsustainable very quickly. And the thing I would like to kind of go back to and refocus the conversation on is not so much cutting employees or cutting, what's happening in the community. I think we need to start looking at ways to, as Steve said, further enhance and grow the revenue side of the problem. There's 2 ways out of a budget shortfall: cuts the budget or growth of the revenue. And if we choose a method other than raising taxes on the people that live here, and look for ways to enhance sales tax, enhance transient tax, and things of that nature that do not affect the citizens of this community, and allows others or has others pay for the services that they're using from our community. I think that seems to make a whole lot more sense. I'm done.
So on the fireworks and the Independence Day, that one of the things that we talk about so much here is bringing in outside dollars, right? Not putting everything on our taxpayers, and that is a thing that brings in people from outside of Gardner. I brag about it at work, and had a coworker come down all the way from Sugar Creek, and was like, "This was the most fun Independence Day we had," and that was a drive, and they spent money in our town. We bring people in, so we want to start cutting things. That's not only for our citizens. That's other tax dollars. That's other, businesses that aren't getting that.
I also don't necessarily want our staff out there, I don't know, begging for money from businesses, and there's a lot of that. Right?
Well, and I'm okay with putting out a sponsorship flyer. I think that's
They want-
fantastic.
sure,
but I don't. Yeah, and if we can get a headliner or if we can get a sponsor, fantastic. That's awesome. But if you said Pepsi did it for $5,000, I mean that's Pepsi that did it for $5,000. Like what? $25,000. That's a lot to come up with. Yeah.
Mark, did you have anything else to?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch. So I'm
And
gonna.
then, and I don't mean it, but maybe you can kind of say your thing, and then we'll come back to this
Okay.
before voting.
So I'm gonna take a lot of these different points and address what I heard, but taking it out of property tax dollars and putting into sales tax or businesses, you're still hitting the residents, because a lot of the business owners are residents. And as far as growing yourself out of it, we're the ones that decide how the revenue is generated. That's on us. So if there's something we need to be doing differently to grow this town better, well, then we should be doing it. So I don't think there's some pie in the sky magical thing for increasing revenue. And I don't think you're going to get 25 grand from the businesses. But hey, that's a whole nother conversation. I want to stop looking at this slide for a minute, because, and I haven't confirmed this with Matt, so, take my napkin spreadsheet numbers here. But if we grow at 5% a year, Steve, not 2, and we look at the last few years of expenses due to mostly inflation and our health care, and put in a 5% increase in expenses, right now we're at the end of this year, we'll be to 33% general fund balance. Guess what we are in 5 years, at the end of 2030?
assuming 5% growth.
5% growth, 5% expenses.
Why 5% expenses?
Because this year from last year is 4%, the year before was 7%, the year before that was 13%,
So our expenses have been outpacing our revenue projections by double.
which we knew. We agreed to spin down our revenue,
Okay, so if we keep
our
it,
general fund.
okay, so if we keep it at the same level, make it 5%, 5%
And it's
revenue.
come down 13.74.
Uh-huh. Please continue.
Okay, guess what it is at the end of 2030?
Obviously, you,
Just guess. Just ballpark me.
25%.
That's the general fund balance, Steve?
26%.
Negative 24%.
So how could that possibly be?
Because you are still outspending and we're talking about a small piece here. When we talk about property taxes, if you include the enterprise funds, we're talking like 1/10 of our total revenue. When you take out the enterprise funds, you're talking about 1/3 of our total revenue. The other 2/3, we're not even adjusting for here, right?
General
All we
fund-
control is property taxes.
General fund, it makes up approximately half of our total outlays because the rest come under our enterprise funds and under our electric fund.
Well, electric is enterprise.
Yes.
Yeah, but take enterprise off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Property taxes are approximately 1/3 of that revenue pool.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we're not adjusting for the other 67% here.
No, because
We only have a small piece that we can actually manipulate. But when you make that change in a way that you still have a negative for going out every year,
How is that possible, Mark?
how is it possible? We're only at 6.8 million in the fund right now.
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
that. So
so-
how does it go negative when the increases in revenues and the increases in expenditures are identical?
Because those are percents, not dollars.
Well, yes, I understand that.
Okay, guess what our total revenues were this year?
So far.
Yeah. 20.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
What's our expenses? 20.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you just take those and everything stays the same,
Mm-hmm.
your expenses are outpacing your revenue. We can't sustain that.
I know
right?
that we can't sustain that.
Okay. But how do you plan to grow the revenue to offset it? That was Steve's point. To
You spent 10 years trying to do that, Mark. You and I have been together on this council during that whole time.
Got that. And to your point, we need to cut.
Right now we do, yes. And we're not cutting. We're talking about $90,000 out of a $20 million.
Yeah, but that's not the
Budget.
part that we're talking about that we control. That's 90,000 out of 369 million.
Yeah, 60
Oh, sorry,
million.
that was the total valuation. 6.7 million.
Yeah.
That's our piece that we're talking about tonight. Everything else is out of that. 6.7 million.
Let me see here.
In other words, our entire revenue is equivalent to what our fund balance is today, give or take, 100 grand.
Oh, where's my-
So we're talking 1.3% of the total.
Yeah.
What
Mark, I
my
got a question
concern
for you.
is, regardless of what we do here, I think the real concern is that even if you leave it flat,
1.3%.
we have a real problem, potentially, that we're going to be less than our 30% really fast. Right?
Mark, I got a question for you. On a fixed income, that's what my wife owns. We're on fixed income. And inflation still goes up. Our property taxes and insurance, when we refinanced our house, we did some work to it 4 years ago. In 4 years, on a fixed rate mortgage, our house payment has went up $530. Now, that's also, some portion of that's insurance as well. But in another 2 years, our escrow payment will be bigger than our principal and interest on $250,000.
Understood.
And as this keeps going up, the consumer cannot, I can't take that. And if I have to figure out for my own household how to deal with limited incomes, then I think we can find 1.3% in substantial and real cuts to make that happen. Because Mark, what we're really talking about here is 1 point. You like percentages, so let's say the percentages. 1.3%.
I'm not even talking about the cuts for a second. My point is that even if we leave it flat, let alone a cut, there's a real chance we're going to raise taxes.
Wait a second.
A significant amount in the next 3 to 5 years.
If we roll the mill levy back 1 point or a quarter of a point, we're not cutting, we're staying where we are.
We're not even doing that. We're still having a tax increase.
We're still having, yes. So
There's still a tax increase.
So we're still
in real
increasing
dollars.
our spending, we're still increasing our income, we're still expanding everything and taking more from the citizens. All we're talking about here is taking a little bit less of what we were thinking.
A little bit
we
less
wanted
of
to take.
more.
Less of more, that's correct. That's not a cut. Less of more is not a cut. It's just exactly that. Less of more.
Mark? No, go ahead.
As far as these cuts, the 10 grand, that's a non.
Let's state a percentage.
That's gone. That's already in the liquor tax. Don't care. The employees, that piece there, if you think the business can cough up 25, I'd say find 55 to take care of the employees, because otherwise we're going to be where we used to hemorrhage employees left and right to the county. And like Casey said, we have great employees that do a good job, and it's not like we're giving them 10% raises here. Okay, this is like National Lampoon's when you get the fruitcake instead of his pool, right? They will be utterly shocked if you take that promotion potential away from them.
Okay, again, I didn't come up with these cuts.
But they're the ones that we're looking at.
No, I'm not looking at that. I don't want the external equity promotions or reclasses on this list. I think it's ridiculous to have it on this list.
So which ones are 1, 2, 3, 4? Three's out. Doesn't matter. 1, 2, 4. Which ones are you good with?
How about D, none of the above?
No, I'm fine with 1 and 4.
1 and
I'm fine with 1 and 4 and the elimination of that IT analyst position.
No. That's only $40,000. You still have to come up with another 50.
He's saying the other position.
Elimination is the employee. That's 100.
It's 40,000 plus 10, that's 50, plus 39,000 for that one position. It gets to 89,000. I can deal without having 1,000.
No, I got that. But to Jim's point, you now kicked the can down the road to next year.
Yes.
So next year you're going to say hold the line because we're going to be in the exact same boat we are today.
Now, how do you know that? How do you know that we'll
Every
be in the same
argument
boat
you have
a year
made
from now, Mark?
is going to be the same. The county will be just as bad or worse.
And we're supposed
We
to,
can't
And
do anything
the only
about
piece
that.
that will change is our revenue number.
which will be higher than the county's revenue number. I'm telling you, that's going to happen. We
Even
have
at a 5%
too much
growth,
stuff opening up in the next
we
12
are not
months.
going to be there.
Again, you're playing Nostradamus with the taxpayers' money, Mark.
No, I am trying to head off the fact that we're going to have to raise mills in 2 or 3 or 5 years if everything doesn't go swimmingly, and now we have to say, hey, you know that
Mark,
58 cents we gave you before, here's 2 mills. Love it.
Mark, with all due respect, I'm not interested in holding the taxpayers' dollars just in case.
That's not what we're doing. But if you give back
Well, you don't give back because it was
$3
never
or
our money
whatever
to
that
begin
total
with.
number was, we're going to ask for 20 back. They're not going to appreciate that. This is the reason that we do the same thing with the enterprise funds, where we spread it out over time. We don't go, hey, we got extra money, $0
you're
for the
okay
next 2
with
years,
it-
$50 the
Mark,
next year. We don't do
If
that.
you're okay with increasing the taxes of the people in this community 7% on average, then go for it. I'm not going to be a part of it.
Well, and here's the other part, Mark. When you start looking at the budgets of people in this community, they don't get the luxury of, when they have to tighten the belt and there's more months than there is money. They can't hang on to stuff. They have to make actual, real, and substantial cuts.
Yes, we all do.
And we're not talking about cuts here. We're talking a reduced amount of increase in spending as a cut.
Yeah.
We're playing Washington's game here, where a reduced amount of the increase is a cut.
These are actually cuts, though.
Well, we're,
These are cuts.
and we're talking, we don't have
I'm looking at the-
using your percentages, we don't have 1.3% of fat in the entire budget.
I don't know. Ask Jim.
Jim, I just find that astounding that we can't,
I gave
that
you
we can't negotiate better contracts, we can't do this, we can't, there's a whole bunch of things we can be doing to manipulate 1.3%. I guarantee you, I had to cut 7% out of our home finances this last year. That's 5 times that amount. I don't get the option, sir. I don't get the option. I have to do what I have to do. And what we're simply suggesting here is that as a city government, we need to start doing what we need to do. It's not $3.50 a month. The dollars per month per house homeowner is irrelevant. The point is, in the last 5 years, we have had a 100% increase in the amount of money we've taken in revenue, and we've spent every nickel of it.
Not of the city. Be
Yes.
careful with what you're saying. The city has not increased 100%.
No.
Matt, what was the revenues 5 years ago from property taxes?
Do you happen to have that number, Mark? Matt, I'm sorry, we don't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Sorry, Matt, we're just trying to understand the real numbers.
I can tell you that in 2020, our mill was 20.665, and we're down to 18.
Yeah, all those
We've
cuts
already cut
happened.
down 2.
All those cuts happened 3 and 4 years ago.
So in the last 5 years, we've cut the mill 2.5.
Yes, 3 and 4 years ago. It's been held at the same level for the last 3 years.
Give or take, it changed slightly. You're gonna have to sit there.
I remember having a discussion with somebody on, not CFG, it's like a 4-letter word, but offline about, and they were a woman, it was a woman who was on fixed income. They were single, empty nester, and they said that their cost to stay in their home had almost doubled in the last 10 years. Now, a lot of that has to do with the county, because the county is out of control. Okay? But our school district isn't exactly doing them any favors either, but that's beside the point. All right?
It's still something that goes up insidiously based on value in the
I
marketplace.
think over the last 10 years, we have prided ourselves in trying to keep the increase in revenues from property tax around the rate of inflation, adjusted for population growth. I think we've done a very good job of that. I think most of the people around this table who have been here for longer than 5 years, like Mark, okay, has been instrumental in that. And when I was mayor, I know we came up with several cycles of mill levy decreases. We were able to get that done in cooperation with the city to make sure that we were on a good, solid financial footing, and we didn't end up lowering our general fund. We actually increased it during that time. Okay? I do not understand what has changed. I do not understand what has changed in the last year and a half to keep that from happening any further. Expenses are not. I understand. In 2023 there was an issue with health insurance. We had
in
to
2023 until today, 2 years, we've increased $2 million in expenses.
Correct, and a lot of it has to do with employee expenses around health insurance.
I understand that. So that was not something we could control. We did the best we could. We had to absorb it.
Correct. But now my understanding is that the cost curve on the health insurance is beginning to moderate, and we're actually saving some money now on our health insurance. Okay? So our per employee cost in the future years should probably begin to moderate as well. Am I correct in that, Jim?
Yeah, we're close to, when we absorbed that 1 year, the large increase. I think we're close to being back to where we were because we saved so much money in transferring to the ICRA.
And kudos to administration. I know that took a lot of hard work to get that done, but we made it work and we saved millions of dollars. Again,
And
90,000. I'm looking for 90,000.
and
guys.
our employees now
Yes.
have worse health insurance. So one of
But we have no
But
control
Can I
over
please
that.
finish a sentence?
Please.
Thank you. Our employees now have worse health insurance. Not due to our fault. We had to do what we had to do. And now you're saying we also don't want to appreciate them for $15,000 or give them any promotions or reclasses. I'm not willing to do that to our employees.
You know, I'm looking, Jim, the staff, you and the staff have done a magnificent job of holding this down to 1.3% that we're having to talk about. I mean, we could be talking about, we could really have a problem if we were talking about 10 or 12%.
I'm trying to figure out why you guys are only talking about a $250,000 in the first place. To you guys' point, we should be talking like 6 mils because everything's gotten so bad.
If I
If you
could,
want to go back to the last 3 years and how bad it's gotten for these people, why are you sitting on a $250,000?
well, you know that revenue neutral is a pipe dream. You know that as much as I
absolutely.
do. Okay, because they don't take into account
Inflation.
new development
Yeah.
or new development.
Yeah, either.
Okay, but I would like to see something that's somewhat commensurate with inflation.
Matt, were you able to find those numbers?
Yeah, basically 2020, we had about, I'm looking at general fund numbers, $2.9 million in prop tax in the general fund. And 2024 was about, or not, 2025, we're expecting about
4 point what?
4.3. So 2.9 to 4.3.
It's about
Okay, so
70%.
That's about, what, 70%, 80%? Yeah, 67%.
48%.
Yeah, 40%.
That's just in the last 5 years at our level. When you start looking at, you know, what's happened in property taxes, guys, it's insane. It is.
Sorry to interrupt. 4.3 and 2.9, 48%. Back to your percents. We went from 16.4 to 20.5 in expenses. So we went up 25% expenses, 48% in revenue.
Revenues. Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's not an expense side problem, huh? Right? The revenues are outpacing the expenses
Then why is our general fund continuing to decrease?
because that number is so large. The expenses are large.
Mhm.
16 to 20 million.
Yes.
But cutting salary, not salaries, cutting merit increases.
I am not advocating for that.
Okay, so is everybody on board that the merit increases are off the table?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and Holiday Inn Park, that's done. Employee engagement? I say don't cut it.
Then we got to find the 15,000
I got
someplace
that.
else.
I got that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Jason, how much of the 125 is actual fireworks? Basically, if I cut out the entire bands,
Oh.
nobody shows up. We just do fireworks, like every other city around here.
Just the fireworks show alone is anywhere from 24 to 27,000.
Okay, so I can save 90 grand if we have no bands. Give or take? That is a nicety, not a must. If you're looking at this, that's where I'd cut it. If you gotta have a quarter, that's where it's coming from, in my opinion.
But I do think to Casey's point, I think it brings people into town to spend money.
Sure. I'm not saying that it's a
This is
must cut,
this is
but
a ludicrous example.
Well, I got a question. I mean,
it's what's on the table.
Yeah, but it's
when
what's
we
put on
had-
the table that we were allowed to look
there's
at.
one department where somebody retired, and I think 2 or 3 employees were added.
No, that was not the case.
Okay, then I stand corrected. But have we had, is there even one hire that we can do without for a year?
I already mentioned
In
one.
any department?
We just cut the building inspector that we didn't pass the bill.
I guess what I'm asking for, guys, is needs versus wants versus perceived wants, or perceived needs. Okay? When it gets to where things are,
So our needs include all those positions that were funded on the screen right now. Those are our needs. Those are not wants. Those are positions we need. And we cut 6 of them.
Is this just a perception thing? Because if we had had this conversation before Jim had done those things,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't we just be sitting up here praising staff for cutting so much and it looks great? But instead, he does a great job, comes in here,
Yes.
and then it's like, yep, but I need to make it sound like I'm doing something, so let's cut a little bit. Not a
Make
whole
it
lot,
sound.
just a little
Why are
quarter
you
mil.
questioning my motivation on this?
Because
Mark?
it's a quarter mil, and if you really cared, it'd be 2 or 6, like our point.
I do care.
I do. care.
Okay, so then why a quarter mil?
Why are you bringing up a hypothetical that none of
That's
us
not a quarter
considered?
a hypothetical. It says proposed quarter mil budget cuts. What's the hypothetical is why a quarter mil? You guys are stuck on a quarter mil, and I can't figure out for the life
And you're
of me.
stuck on increasing everybody's taxes by 6.9%.
On average.
Taking
On average.
appreciation, yes.
And 48 cents a month. Our citizens blew up more money than that this weekend. Lit it on fire.
Well, okay, hold on a second. Mark likes talking percentages.
Yep.
Casey, you're like to talk about $3 is a small piece of a bigger.
We
This
can
is a small.
control
This is
that
a small piece of a great big problem, and our county is not willing to address that. And we can't influence that. We have no control of that. Our school district, which spends way more than we do locally, does not seem to have any kind of fiscal constraint. Okay, but we at this dais have the ability, and it is within our control to do this. We can do this if we so choose.
But just because you're upset at the
I'm not.
county and the school district,
I'm not upset. I'm just telling you what it is.
okay, but you have a problem with their
Talking in
overspending.
circles.
What?
We're talking in
But
circles.
because of that, it's like we're fighting over literally pennies. And
Pennies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Pennies
the same
compound
conversation is going to be
hundreds of
sitting
dollars.
here next year. We're not going to outgrow that same issue with the county next year. It's still going to raise, let's say, 7%. You're going to want to cut again, yes? Because we're going to be in
I
the
don't
same
know, is it-
So
boat.
when is it going to be good to cut then, Mark? Is it
Well,
ever going to be good to cut?
When that stuff that we put into place actually materializes. We abated a bunch of stuff. We have to wait
Okay.
a little longer
That's 10
for it to
years.
come in. I'm aware of the situation.
10 years. So for next 10 years, we're going to continue to see increases
It's not-
of anywhere from 7 to 9% in taxes for every single citizen of Gardner for our
Which would be
portion.
double.
That's
And that-
not on us, though. I can't fix the county's problem by cutting
But we
things
can't
that
fix
we do
ours.
need to keep things going for our citizens.
If our
We can
number,
choose not to
whatever it
participate
is,
in it.
increases 7.2% as a piece of property taxes in general, if our revenue and valuations increase 7.2% per year for 10 years, that's doubling the revenue and the expense to our citizens where they are today. That's just pure math.
I understand
And-
that. I'm not saying that you're
and-
going to
and-
fix it in that regard.
And what I'm having trouble with is the semantics of what we're talking about this
Yep.
evening.
I agree.
And the semantics of what we're talking about this evening is a cut in our revenue, and it's really not a cut, it's a reduction in what we had thought that the staff wanted to spend. I understand that they have a number, it's our job, it's their job to produce that number, it's our job to decide if that's acceptable. And what I'm trying to get on the table here is a reduction in the increase is not the same as a cut. It is just a reduction in the increase. What we're really talking about here is it's still an increase, but it's not as much of an increase as some other folks would like to see.
And my question is this, and by the way, to the councilman's discussion about fireworks, people chose to buy fireworks.
Mhm.
They don't choose what they're going to pay for property taxes.
Right.
Except that
But
they
that's
just passed a $100 million bond for the school,
that was a vote.
and
That
they,
was a
and they
vote.
approved it.
Well, wait a
It was
second.
a vote.
Mark, would you like, in the McNair household, 0 was spent on fireworks this year, and we voted no on the school bond issue.
That's great. Things are done by the majority around here.
All right, well, let's hold these thoughts.
I
Kinda
just,
go in circles a little
if
bit,
it's
but
only
let's come back to
pennies,
it. It's gonna-
if it's only pennies, I don't understand why there's such a hard fight over this.
I don't
But-
need
Agenda item.
I mean, really, that's funny, but
Let's
I mean, there's people in this room right now that can't afford this increase. You're gonna tell them that they're gonna have to take it?
All right, so yeah, let's move on for now. Public hearing. Public hearing number one, hold a public hearing for the purpose of receiving comments to a request for a waiver of the distance limitation to allow for the sale and consumption of cereal and malt beverages for consumption within 200 feet of a school, church, or library during the Johnson County Fair at the Johnson County Fairgrounds. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second shoot. We open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is open. If anyone would like to come forward. Seeing no one, I entertain a motion to close it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion McNair, second shoot. We close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Public hearing is closed. Move to public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of the public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. 5-minute time clock on your left. Come forward, state your name and address for the record, and the podium is now open. Yep.
Please state your name and address for the record.
First time attendee, I'm glad I've got the right colors on too.
Oh,
There you go.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm Gene Senesac. I live in Olathe. I'm a candidate for the fall of 26 County Commission Chair position. So
Would you please speak in the mic? There you go.
Gene Senesac, Olathe.
Yes, thank you.
I'm a candidate for the fall 26 County Commissioner Chair position.
Thank you for running.
Yep.
Yes.
I had a whole different notes that I was going to make, but I can't believe how the discussion you've had here tonight really hits home. So there's been comments made by, I'm a numbers guy. I'm also a conservative. I'm not an accountant. I'm a retired business executive, and I've been attending the county commission meetings since the first of the year. I've been at every meeting. I've been to the CAL sessions as well. I've gained a groundwork of how it operates. I've communicated with staff to understand how deep they dig and what it is they do. I ask a lot of questions. All of your discussion here tonight is about asking questions, making hard choices. I've not seen any of that in the meetings that I've been to. So I'll commend you guys for having the discussion.
Thank you.
I've not seen that, like I say, prior, and those discussions need to happen, believe me. The budget this year is $1.9 billion.
With a B? With a B.
Yep, it's 1.4 operating. I hear what you're saying about your general fund. I hear what you're saying about your employees. Your employees, you'll hear this across business, and I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure, but they're your most valuable asset. And if you lose those employees, it costs a lot to replace them, number one, but then you've got a lot of experience that's just gone out the door, and word of mouth is very powerful. So again, I appreciate everything that you're kicking around here. I don't know where you settle out, but I'm here to tell you that my vision for the county is to eliminate a lot of what I see as excessive spending. And the way I go about that is by, number one, asking questions, understanding what the spend is for, understanding if it's really needed for the areas that it's targeted. We have a lot of good things going on in the county. We've got a great park system. They get tremendous awards. And I think I heard recently we're like the top 2% in the country for where we rank. Kudos for that. We get great awards for mental health. We get great awards for safety. I've talked to some other neighboring cities here just to understand what their issues are. You know, number one, going back on yours, I was amazed to see just how much youth you have in this city. I think I saw on your website that your average age is like 31 years old. That really opened my eyes. But at the same time, Steve, if I may call you out, one of my big drivers is feeling for the aging populace. And that's a demographic that's going to be growing going forward.
Could I ask you to respond to an experience I had on the 23rd of May last year.
I don't know if that's
Can I?
appropriate. Yeah, you can talk to him.
I'm just talking to you guys, but maybe on the side, yes.
Okay.
So I feel for people that are on fixed incomes. I feel for inflation that's in our everyday expenses. I feel for healthcare costs that go up. These things are one direction. But what we need to do is to be able to go at the beast that's there, which is spend, in my view, figure out really what's necessary and not what's just a talking point to try and say we need higher taxes in order to generate more income. From what I see, the budget is something that we spend up to. When you prepare a budget and you find out that you've been too aggressive in preparing it and you underspend, that doesn't free up money necessarily for other areas to just spend that money because that's what we budgeted. We need a voice for the people more, in my view, and that's what I'm putting forward. And if anybody here wanted to have more discussions about what my vision is,
I'd like to.
and if we could do that even in front of groups, I'd be very interested in speaking to your community just to tell them where I think things need to be heading. So thank you for your time. I recognize you've got a big challenge. There's a lot of things that you've got to kick around. You know, good luck to you, and whatever the county can do going forward to try and assist you, I think we need to do. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
For your
Thank you
comments.
very much.
Well timed, too.
Very well done.
I am John Snyder, 635 North Olive Street, concerned citizen and candidate for city council. Just wanted to say, what a great discussion that was. You had some realists with numbers, and you had some compassion for the citizens, and I think a little both of that has to come together. You guys have a really difficult challenge ahead of you with the explosion of growth in the city, to come up with outside the box ways to keep the taxes low and still support the city. Cutting employee benefits is never a great idea. And I know from personal experience, if you want to keep good people, you got to take care of them. You know, people generally, they don't leave, because they're unsatisfied with pay, but they leave because they're unsatisfied with recognition for their work. And I think there are good leaders in this room. I find that giving a city administrator a difficult task of running a city with no budget is very difficult. And then you got a guy that's crunching numbers, trying to come up with money that's not there, to run a city. I know it's a difficult challenge. I have some ideas that I'm gonna hold on to because it's not my place right now. But I just wanted to come before you, and so you can place a face with a name, and I commend you on your challenges and the way that your discussions developed, and hopefully you come up with a good solution. But thank you for your time.
Thanks, John.
Usually I'm the only one that comes up after the 4th of July. I'm gonna stand on my tip. Gotta see everybody
Still at
here.
the side here. There you go. There you
Okay,
go.
there we go. I can see everybody. Well, I think, Jennifer Smith, 648 South Oak. I think this is the first time after a 4th of July event that I have come in a positive light. So yay! Last year, if you remember, my bag was completely full. This year, this is my bag from my yard. The stuff still would have killed my ducks, but that is good to see compared to last year's amount. I want to thank Mark, not you, but the other Mark, sorry, I have to do that, of taking the reins on our firework committee. I appreciate everybody's time for giving in, for half a year of working to try to educate and kind of go after our citizens to be a good neighbor. And that's how this whole process started, of being a good neighbor and supporting the neighbors. And I want to thank Danica for using a lot of her time to help us with this process. And Chief, thank you for all the officers and the extra time in the fire department and everything that spent extra time patrolling. And I know you had bike patrol out and on our area, I know there was a couple loud bangs before and after, but not as bad as it has been. I drove around today that picked up the signs, and the streets look pretty good. There's still a couple of areas, but I think we still have a lot of work to do. But kudos to our citizens that really listened and took care of their community, and it was nice to see that people were following the rule. And since I am a moderator on CFG, I was able to kind of squash some of those comments. Since it's not a city page or a government page, I can, don't have those First Amendment things. But so sorry, Lynn, don't print that. So, but I just wanted to say thanks to everybody's time for helping take care of this issue. So,
Thanks, Jennifer.
thank you.
Thank you,
I heard,
Jennifer.
Danica said that 90 headsets or noise canceling headsets were handed out.
How many?
90.
Oh, all of them?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's good. Okay. Any other public comment? All right. We'll move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda council would like to remove?
Yes, I'd like to bring the planning commission assignments regular agenda later.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Do we hear a motion to approve consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8?
So moved.
Motion McNear, second Shoot. We approve consent agenda items 1 through 6 and number 8. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Consent agenda item number 7. Consider appointments to the Planning Commission. Steve?
Yes, one of the things, or do we want to do that? I get to do that now. There's one, I've had input from public about the appointment of Flip Landsberg to the Planning Commission that asked that we review that.
Is there a specific, I'm not sure what you're asking.
There's influence by people, and I really don't feel comfortable naming names, but I don't want to do that if I can help it.
So are you thinking that this individual is not necessarily gonna be
From what I understand, there could be outside influence on this individual.
Well, we interviewed myself and Vice President and President interviewed him, and he was very well spoken and gave me no pause.
No, he was
He did a
very,
good job.
very good.
I mean, we don't know everybody's background. and
Unfortunately, I don't know. Specifics are hard to come by on open meeting in a dais situation, so I would have a hard time rejecting unless we had more information, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think out loud here as to, we do have an interview committee. I am interested in the makeup of the committee. We do have, I don't know if we all ever came to the conclusion that the committee was going to be comprised solely of the council president and vice president. Was that voted on by our by the group, by the full council?
I don't know if that was, I
I don't know.
remember.
We discussed that when we eliminated the other bodies? I don't
No.
remember.
No, I don't think that,
Discussed
I
it.
feel like we would have then,
Got rid of all the citizen committees.
right? Because now we only have UAC and.
correct, but
planning.
usually what we've done in the past, and I understand, in the past, we had all the boards and committees, the citizen boards. But my understanding in the past was that when we had interview teams, as per the governing body rules of procedure, that the body would select the individuals that would be serving on the committee. In the case of, again, past action, typically we provide deference to individuals who had previously served on those committees as part of the interview team. So I remember that when we were doing planning commission interviews 3 years ago, Tori Roberts, who was on council at the time, she was a past planning commission member and president and had participated in those interviews, but she was not a member of the leadership team. So I'm a little concerned that we had not come up with that or made the final decision on that interview. I believe you may have heard differently, so I'm just asking about that. Because I would think if it's a planning commission interview, we want somebody who served on planning commission in the past to be a part of
I
that
served on
discussion.
planning commission.
Okay.
I've been on the planning commission interview team before as well.
On the interview team, yes, but you didn't serve on the planning commission.
Correct.
Has anybody served 6 years and been the chairman of the planning commission? I have. Has anybody been in the real estate business for 23 years and retired from it? I have. I think I probably as much or more qualified than anybody else to sit on that committee.
Could I offer some insight? So, to the extent, if I'm hearing Councilmember McNear's concerns that there might be outside influence on this planning commission member, anytime anyone outside of a public meeting speaks to a planning commission member about a specific application, the law says that that planning commissioner is under a legal obligation to disclose.
And recuse.
No, not recuse, just to disclose that outside communication. So if someone is talking to one of our planning commissioners, whether a proponent or an opponent, it's actually incumbent upon them to come forward and disclose that, which I will tell you, I think significantly, that wasn't always the law in Kansas. So for a long time, you could talk to planning commissioners, you could talk to city council members, and not have to disclose it. The law changed 15 plus years ago. And in my experience since then, I think the concerns of undue influence from outside influences, I think, have been really kind of eliminated because of the necessity that the individual has to make those disclosures. But I just offer that up as maybe to offer some perspective, and if this individual is following the law, and if they aren't, then they're subjecting themselves to potential personal liability. Then if they're following the law, then I think some of your concerns, council member, would be addressed.
The only kicker there is he's not on planning yet, so he has no restrictions at this point. So what Steve is alluding to is that maybe he's a stooge for somebody.
That could
Right.
possibly be.
But I would think, they can only take action on applications that come before them.
Sure.
And until this person is on planning commission, they can't take any action.
Agreed.
Once
It's all speculation.
Yeah,
they,
it's speculation at this point, but
yeah.
I'm torn on this one. I believe that we do need to trust the recommendations of the interview
Okay.
team on this one, understanding that we do have a review process for planning commission members in the future. So
okay, I'll take your lead, Steve.
I would.
I'm good with it then.
Okay.
We can have the discussion at another time if you want to talk about the makeup of it. Or we can
I think we probably need to have that discussion,
That's fine.
just because I want to make sure that all members of the governing body are involved in the process. Not in the interview team, but the selection of the interview team, that's all.
Okay. All right, is there a motion then for number 7?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion Deaton, second McNear, we approve consent agenda item number 7. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstain, 7 passes. Planning and zoning consent, anyone like to remove that item? Okay, motion to approve the planning and zoning consent?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Deaton, we approve planning and zoning consent, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Planning and zoning consent passes. All right. New business item number 1. We'll put Matt on the hot seat. Consider adopting a resolution regarding the governing body's intent to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
Back on June 16th, the City Council expressed the intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate of 16.959 mils. The resolution here before you tonight sets a public hearing regarding the governing body's intention to exceed the revenue neutral rate for September 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. here at City Hall. It also directs the city clerk to provide this resolution to the Johnson County Clerk as notice of the city's proposed intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Staff is seeking direction on what proposed mill rate to include on the resolution.
Further discussion? Oh, I'm sorry, yes. If there's public comment on this item, please come forward. All right, further discussion?
I think we've
They
beaten this horse.
beat it up pretty well.
Yeah, we've beaten this horse pretty
Shoot,
bad.
you mentioned that the cuts that were presented weren't yours, so did you have a different one that you wanted to throw out there?
Yes, I mentioned the IT analyst on multiple
Okay.
occasions.
I got that. Anything else? I'm just covering
And,
everything.
and then, yeah, I'd be looking at that 25,000, and I'd be looking at moving the 10,000 over to,
Yeah, the 10's happening.
which I think is gonna happen regardless. I think that's a good idea. I don't think that should be coming out of general fund anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then, we'd have to talk about employee appreciation for 1 year. And I understand but I mean, I'm looking at needs versus wants right now. And I would know as much as anybody about employee, because when I was mayor, we worked very hard to make this place a good place for the employees. And we had to make some decisions, some very tough decisions at the top to make that happen. But we made it work, and I think that all folks here, if you ask them, are happier now than they were when I became mayor in 2018. Okay? I also understand that, I mean, heck, I'd be willing to pitch in $3,000 for employee appreciation if that's what's needed. Okay?
Yeah,
I'd be willing to do that.
I think employee appreciation is a very needed thing.
I
It would
agree.
probably be the very last thing I would cut out of the budget.
Well, I would cut it.
One of the things that we're facing is we have some high turnovers in some of our departments, and one of our departments kind of is a training ground for everybody else in the county. We're robbed, or we have people that are poached out of our police department for other departments.
We increased our salary structure there to prevent that from happening.
And I think employee appreciation, showing them the appreciation that they deserve,
Okay.
especially for the job they do, which is one heck of a fine job.
With $15,000, then where would you take that from, Steve?
I would take that out of trying to renegotiate or try to hold a tighter line on contracts, and maybe not try to sub as much out on consultants as we seem to be able to do. I don't know our staff's capabilities as well as I could, but
I think our staff's capabilities have improved significantly in the last 2 weeks.
and so I understand.
We love you, Amy, and she is amazing. She is amazing, and I know that some of the stuff that we've been having to contract out is stuff that I know Amy is well equipped to self-perform. In a lot of
That's
cases.
my point. I'm looking at this whole overall budget, Jim. You and staff have done a fine job trying to put this together, and you worked your butt off, and I really sincerely appreciate the work you've done. Thank you. And at the same time, we're talking about a 1.3% of a,
I wonder-
so 97.7% of our spending is good. We're only missing the mark by 1.3%. And if that's, in any budget, whether it's household, whether it's business, whether it's corporations
again,
or
we're talking
whatever,
in circles.
1.3% can be found somewhere.
Yeah, well, again, we're kind of talking in circles. We've beaten that horse pretty dead. But that does kind of come back to something that I was thinking of before. I know that we were able to self-perform a lot of stuff before, and you left a big hole, Amy, when you left. And that's we've had to go outside for a lot of that work since you left. And maybe that's something that we might be able to revisit. Jim? In terms of some of the...
Our consulting costs are down significantly. So.
Okay. So that overall, is that the last year, or are we self-performing?
Just since, when we started, when Amy started back in 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
They've never bounced back up to where they were, not even close.
Oh, wow.
So.
Wow, I'm surprised. Good job. I did not realize that. That's something I did not have on my radar.
I apologize. Can you go over the analyst position one more time? What its purpose? What we're looking at? The need.
So the PD, I'm going to throw Charles under the bus because he's been texting me. The 50 tickets that have been received in the past 30 days, 35 of them have been at the PD. And that's typical. And not only is it the tickets for the IT maintenance and systems, but we have the RMS system that is run by gyms at the county. And we have fallen behind our maintenance and upgrade requirements that are associated with that because we don't have anybody that has the time to do that. So this person would be specifically assigned to the PD to address those issues. And we've needed them for 2 or 3 years. So we're just getting behind more and more every year.
So what happens if we don't have them for another year?
So in addition to the items that the city administrator has listed, is also we have an enterprise body-worn camera system, which also encompasses the in-car cameras, our interview room cameras, as well as it has to talk to CAD. And CAD is ran by gyms in Overland Park. And right now we don't have, I can go to the meetings for our CAD system, but I don't understand a thing they're saying. I'm not capable of doing anything with our CAD. IT is not it's not me. So where it comes to, right now we're trying to integrate call tagging with, into our Axon system. So everything talks to each other as far as the CAD, the RMS, and our body-worn cameras, and then the use of the taser, and then the body-worn cameras. So they all go and are attached to one call. And we're falling behind in that because we don't have anybody that's assigned to just manage our items. We have monthly meetings for CAD. We have monthly meetings for RMS that we need to have an IT person attend, but our IT department is understaffed and not able to dedicate someone because we already pull them so much. If one of our cars, if the MDT goes down, we have to have someone come and fix that MDT. That's the mobile data terminal in the car. So we are constantly pulling from IT. And I think that Terry is probably in our building 4 out of 5 days. So it's just the long-term maintenance is falling behind as we put this off. We don't, like, I have no way, I can't just pull up and look at my CAD data. Whereas if we had someone that was designated that could work with all of this Axon, we would be able to do things like that. There's just different things that we need constant attention for, that when one of our officers has an issue, we're not able to fix it, we have to rely on IT. And so we're pulling from other areas.
What's our current staffing level in IT right now? Jim? So, yeah, okay, so Charles and he's got 3 working under him. And they're tied up in local, in operations here at the building. Mostly software management and turbo ticketing, right?
Well, there's, a lot of hardware issues as well.
Hardware issues? Have we, again, this is probably not a discussion for this particular items, but have we thought about, I know the hardware gets obsolete, it phases out. Have we thought of more cloud-based solutions in the future to try to lower, 1, the cost of the hardware, and 2, the maintenance curve?
I'm sure Charles has. I'm not intimately familiar with that.
Charles has been looking at that.
Yeah, because that would cut costs significantly, I think, both on hardware and software maintenance.
Now it's gonna sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but have we looked into IT management companies that, cloud and otherwise, that were, especially on the hardware side, have we looked
not
at
interested.
subbing that out?
I'm not interested. We had that before, and it was a disaster.
That was before my time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I remember that, and it was a disaster. That's why we brought it in house with Itchison and now with Charles, and it's saved us a lot of money and a lot of headache because it was a mess before. I mean, we were in breach of all sorts of.
Okay. I was not aware of that.
If I could just add one more thing. We participate in a lot of conglomerates with other cities in the county, which saves us a great deal of money.
That's right.
But one of kind of the give that we need is a little bit more IT attention in order to really function within those conglomerates.
Chief, are we the only department in the area that uses the Axon system that does not have an IT person?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I
was going to guess, I would say yes, but that'd be.
I'd really be interested in knowing the answer to that question.
I can find out, but I don't know that now.
And if they don't, how do they do it?
We got 3 people on this dais that work in IT, as far as I know.
Past career, I was a network guy.
I work. I'm full-time IT professional. So are you, Mark? And I thought you did. I thought you worked in IT, Mark.
He manages programs.
Ah, so you're
Okay.
one of those guys. Okay, I understand.
Program manager.
But I'm thinking there's probably some ways from an infrastructure perspective that we could potentially address that, and I've got some ideas. As a 30-year information systems professional.
Well, we've talked a lot about what was presented, different things. I'm going to throw out a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, regardless, we're not doing R&R.
Of course, but they're asking for an exact mill level.
Yeah,
right?
but we don't have to tonight, correct?
No, we
We
don't.
just have to pass that we are exceeding it.
No, we
Yes.
need to include it in the resolution. But
So-
the thing is,
But it just has to be not to exceed number.
Yes. You can. Yes.
We can always change it later.
You can go lower, but you can't go higher.
Right.
Yes.
So, the only 2 things that have really been on the table was flat, quarter, reduction. So, why don't we pass tonight flat, and let's have a work session to spitball every idea we can come up with to save money.
I would agree, as long as we're not just putting that flat there and then the expectation becomes, well, that's going to be the rate.
Nope.
Because
100%
last year,
not
that's
doing
what
that.
happened.
That's not what I'm presenting. I'm saying we actively take this essentially offline and kick it all around and figure out what the best solution is, because otherwise we're just going to sit here and chat about this for a while.
Oh, no,
tonight.
no. I totally agree, and I'd be happy to be a part of that.
Well, I'm saying all
because
of us.
I think
As a work session.
you've got the data knowledge, I've got the infrastructure knowledge. I think
Plus
we can
that
probably figure out
gives
something.
us some time to talk with Matt on different questions and so on. And Jim can mull around anything else.
and discuss the needs that the police department has with this particular staffing position. I
Because
mean,
we've talked about a few things here, not revolutionary ideas, but just conversation that maybe staff has some other input.
I think we
So-
want to work together here. I don't think that we want to hamstring anybody.
Okay,
We don't-
so
We want to make sure that
does
we're going to
anybody
be heard and
have
I'm
that
okay
idea?
with doing this, Mark. What
reasonably negotiated with too.
Yes, so
what
I'd like to make a
it's a-
motion to do this with a flat rate mill levy.
Okay, yeah, for this
Yep.
item? Yeah.
and then we can have discussion. More.
Well, somebody has to second it first.
Second.
Yeah, we do
Motion
need,
Deaton, second Baldwin. We adopt a resolution regarding the governing body's intent. Adopt resolution 2174, a resolution of the city of Gardner, Kansas regarding the governing body's intent to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
yes.
Councilmember McNair.
I'm going to say no. I'm not there yet.
No?
I'm-
Say no?
No.
Okay. Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2174 passes. Still have further discussion.
I think that's a requirement. That's a
How's next
requirement
Monday
for me.
look for everybody?
Next
I
Monday?
can't do it. I've got a hard commitment Monday.
All right.
Can we have it before a council meeting?
Oh, in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Give us a lot of.
Can we do it at 6 o'clock?
Are we going to do this in an hour? I don't think we're going to do this in an hour.
Well, the idea is you
Does it have to be on Monday?
So what is the idea behind the work session?
I was just going to give us more time to throw out things, spitball some ideas, run some numbers in front of Matt and be like, hey, if we do this, what does this change? Those type of things.
Yeah.
So that we can plan, look at our hypotheticals essentially.
We're not talking about staffing levels. We're not talking, at least not initially. We're just talking about, right, how we can.
You
how we-
still have to address it through line items. It can't.
Yes.
Of course.
It can't be.
Right, I know, we
We're-
can't say,
we're
hey,
gonna-
we're just going to do great things.
Right.
No.
Right. So where are you going to come up with the information on the line items?
Well,
So I think that's what hopefully we could access a bunch of data, Matt, but everybody come in with their own thoughts as to where these dollars could come from potentially. And then we say, hey, Matt, what is that in real dollars and what's the outcome of it? That's the part I care about, is what changes in the out years if we do this thing.
wasn't the change based. I mean,
based in the same predictive models that put us in negative in 10 years.
That's still going to mean numbers from a line item.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. So it's not going to be any different than what I presented today. It would just be different stuff. So you want to go line item by line item through our budget and decide as a council what budget items you're going to cut. Is that what you're saying?
No, I do not want to do that. We hired you to do that.
Exactly. That's my point.
So I'm just saying, if others have ideas as to where those dollars could come from, because it seems like there's some ideas out there, they throw them out and basically change what that list is potentially, or parts of it. That's it.
It's the same
continue
thing.
the conversation. Yes, ultimately
It's
we
the
still have
same
to do the
thing.
same number.
Yeah.
Yes, agree.
And maybe if we're saying we're kicking it down for 2 weeks, present your ideas not to the entire council, but to either Jim or to Matt ahead of that, and we can discuss them at that point. I mean, because to put you guys on the spot in 2 weeks sounds.
We've got to be
daunting.
real careful not to reply all on those things because that would violate CORA and COMA, I should say, COMA. So if we do that, we bring up suggestions, we let Jim and Matt run the numbers on the suggestions.
If you don't want to take that risk, then
Yeah.
write them down on a slip of paper and bring them in. I am only making a suggestion to make suggestions.
I mean, if somebody has an idea, send it to Matt and Jim. Let them figure it out, see what that does and doesn't do. Comes back to you, you can deal with it however you want, and then they can present to us what they think is manageable. They already did that, but somehow we are saying that's not good enough, so we need to present them with something to work with, in my opinion.
I think that the 40,000 from the that line item was not a
Right.
reasonable
So
line
that was
item.
an idea.
But there were others that I think we could definitely take and work with. But
I mean, I think this is.
again,
practice.
we're talking in
Right, I mean,
circles.
I don't think that's, you know, you're.
That's why I'm saying just move it to the work session. That was
When
my-
would that work session?
I'm fine to stay here until midnight tonight too, if that's what we want to do.
When would that work session be?
Whatever works for you guys. I mean, we could do it before the next meeting. We could do it next week.
When is the budget hearing slated now?
It would be the same as September 2nd.
September 2nd. So we could give us 3 weeks to gather information. All right, that would get us out to
28th.
It'll be the 28th of July. We could have a work session on that Monday. Is that a possibility for people to make that?
Unfortunately, between now and November, every Monday night that I have between now and then is absolutely committed. Outside of council nights, Monday night is a really bad night for me.
So we do it before the council.
The reason is I'm helping with church retreat this fall, and the team meetings are on Monday nights, and I have to miss half of them the way it is right now.
How about this? We have the city clerk poll everyone with dates that are possible.
Yeah.
Concatenate, throw back out, set a meeting. Whoever can attend attends, and whatever that date is, everyone can still communicate with you with their ideas.
One comment, and we'll do whatever council wants, obviously, but one thing to take consideration when thinking about the date, if we set it too far out, it takes a while to write that entire budget, put together the budget document, and we want to make sure there's plenty of time for the public hearing that the public can see that done.
Totally understand.
So it would be actually better to actually have it closer to now than the work session.
Let me refine my original suggestion. Is it possible, does everybody up here think, that we could just send all the comments and concerns and questions to Jim, and possibly Matt, or maybe you too, and we just revisit this in 2 weeks at a regular council meeting?
In a work session or not?
Could be a work session beforehand if you want, or
I think we need. I think we
I
need.
think
to
we
have
need a work session.
That'd be fine.
How about 6 o'clock?
That's
Start.
what I would say.
I say 5.
After anything, if we don't get it finished, we can continue during the meeting.
Okay,
All right, that's fine.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'll deal with it.
Okay, so we're setting a work session on the 21st at 6.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Ma'am.
All right, new business item number 2, consider a request for a waiver of the distance limitation and a general retailer special event permit to allow for the sale of cereal malt beverages for consumption within 200 feet of a school, church, or library during the Johnson County Fair at the Johnson County Fairground. Renee.
Okay, so this year, the Johnson County Fair would like to serve cereal malt beverages, and they have asked the Abdallah Shriners, who just did their event in June, to run that for them this year. During the whole week, which is July 26th through August 2nd, they only plan to have their beer garden open on July 26th, July 30th, August 1st, and August 2nd from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. So for us to give them that temporary license for those dates, we would need to get the waiver of distance.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions or comments?
No,
Yeah,
it's
public
public
hearing.
hearing. I make a motion to approve new
Second.
business item number 2.
Motion Shute, second McNair. We approve a request for a waiver of the distance limitation and a general retailer special event temporary permit to allow for the sale and consumption of cereal malt beverages within 200 feet of a school, church, or library during the Johnson County Fair to be held July 26th through August 2nd, 2025 at the Johnson County Fairgrounds, 136 East Washington Street. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? New business item 2 passes. New business item 3, consider authorizing the city administrator to execute a memorandum of purchase of 6 161 kilovolt switches for the ongoing design and execution with Evergy for substation 4.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Yeah, for substation 4, we need 6 161 kV switches, also known as disconnects. They're used for isolating electrical equipment so maintenance can be done in a safe manner. We received 2 bids, one from SAS Substations and one from SECO. Both companies bid the same, a switch from SECO. SAS Substations is a distributor and SECO is the actual manufacturer of the switch. So we're recommending going with SECO and then save the markup for the 6 switches for substation 4.
Thank you, guys. Any public comment for this new business item? 3. Council, do you have any questions on this?
No. I think this is something we can't really debate
really
on.
ditch this is inevitable.
We have to interface with Evergy.
Guys, I'm assuming this 2 sets are a redundant set for 3-phase, is that correct?
So there's 3 phase, and to isolate a transformer, you need 2 switches.
Okay.
So we're gonna need
Understand.
6 for the equipment.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shooten, second McNear. We authorize the city administrator to execute a purchase agreement with SECO for 6 161 kilovolt switches for the construction of the interconnection facility for substation 4, estimated at $182,322.51, including state tax. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? New business item
Thank you.
3 passes. Thank you, guys. All right, we'll move to council updates. Chief, we'll start with you.
As an update for fireworks, in 2024 we ran 43 calls for service on fireworks, and in 2025 it was 42. It was about the same. It didn't seem too terrible, and the officers observed that they felt like the hours of operation were being mostly abided by.
Yep.
So I felt like it went pretty well. I did issue a COE today, so we have 2 new hires that will be starting somewhere around the end of July, and that leaves us with 2 vacancies.
That's really good.
And that's all I have.
Good. Thank you. City Clerk, Renee.
I do not have anything today.
Matt?
Nothing tonight.
You're new. Amy, welcome. Welcome. It's great to have you here. Anything you'd like to say?
No, nothing.
No? Okay. We'll give you a little time. City Attorney?
Nothing from me.
Guns?
Nothing tonight?
Jason?
So we had our Independence Day Festival on Friday. It went very, very well. We had a new production company this year. The artists were amazing. And honestly, that's the reason people come to this show, is our fireworks show and the artists. And so they, Graham and Tyler just did a really, really good job. Wanted to thank Chief and all the support we got from PD and all the departments. This isn't just a Parks and Rec gig. It's all departments chip in, and it's a city effort. So want to thank Jordan and the rest of my staff for putting on a great show. And the fireworks were amazing this year too. So thanks for coming.
Very smooth, yeah. I did have a question. You know, Jim, we've seen some of the cell phone data. Do you think that's something we could see? Would they have that information as far as people coming into town and maybe where they went when they were in town or where they came from or something like that?
The geofencing?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I can ask.
I'm curious.
That's something
If
that
we could
we
get that
get.
information, that might be good, you know, to support investment in something like that. So.
Do you have an estimate of number of people that showed up?
So what we typically do is PD will get their drone out. We're doing a debrief, I think this Friday. So that's how we get. I can tell you that our lot was full, both Pioneer lots were full, and the entire grass lot at Pioneer was full.
Everything
And
on
shuttles
the
were
south
running.
was.
Shuttles were running all night.
My own trained eye said about 10,000, maybe a little more. That's typically, that's around what we usually get, right?
I'd say closer to A probably.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you. Dave?
Nothing tonight.
Kellen?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. City Administrator?
Nothing more tonight.
Steve?
Yeah, I just wanted to, first off, say, Mark, thank you for leading the effort on the fireworks changes for this year and the Citizens Committee on that. It's a stellar job. I mean, really, seriously. Chief, excellent job on July 4th. We were with family and saw officers 3 different times in the evening. Later on, when we got home, twice in our neighborhood. Very, very, very few after 11 o'clock. It was impressive. Jason, as always, stellar job. It's something that is a source of pride for our community. And you know, next year is America's 250th birthday. And that's, we really need to do something special. That's all I have.
Yeah, I'll kind of second what Councilman McNair said. I think the Good Neighbor campaign was a smashing success.
Yes, sir.
There was a lot of visibility at the fireworks stands, which was really, really good. I did personally see 4 patrol vehicles come through. One during in the early evening, just before fireworks were really ramping up, and then another 3 patrolling after 11 p.m. So I guess you were trying to just catch folks that might have been shooting off and, after 11. So that was a real deterrent. I mean, it really got people's attention. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Really no real complaints. I think that most of the folks in town were very well behaved and cleaned up the mess and didn't leave a bunch of garbage on people's lawns, which was really good. And I know Jennifer appreciated it, so I know she couldn't stay very much longer, but she was spot on with what she was saying. And from the standpoint of the Independence Day Festival, I mean, there's nothing like it at a city our size. It really is an amazing event, and people were having a great time, even though it was really hot. They were having a great time and a lot of smiles, and just really, really appreciate the Parks and Rec staff as well as everybody else who chips in on that particular event. That's all.
Thanks. Councilman Wayne?
Couple things. 2 kudos to the chief. Thanks again for inviting us to the award ceremony. The opportunity to see, the police family that we have in this town is still an awesome opportunity that, and you don't get to see or hear the great things that your staff does, that our police force does for citizens throughout Gardner. So I think I really appreciate that opportunity. It's always very eye-opening for me and very gratifying for me to see them and their families enjoying, especially the officer of the year, was moved to tears. That was awesome to see. So, and I saw Officer Jolly afterwards and waved and congratulated her. So that was great. Also, thank you so much for all your support. On the fireworks committee, I think that the ideas that were brought forth during that and having the Good Neighbor campaign were fantastic. Jennifer's support was, and having her come back out after admonishing us the last year and then this year, you can see how much work that she's poured into this, and I appreciate it. And to you, Mayor, I really appreciate your support for that, being able to put out the signs and helping put that. I greatly appreciate it. So thanks for that. Well, hopefully, I know there's some small tweaks that we can make, but we can always continue to help bring us together for 250. So.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Council Vice President?
Yeah, so to second what Mark said about the awards, that was fantastic. I really appreciate the invite and being included. I like to see, it's a difficult industry to be in, so seeing all the family support and all the people that come out, and also, getting to kind of, we hear the calls for service and some of that, but it's really eye-opening to what goes on in our town and what a great department we have. So thank you for that. And then also to Jason, your whole team. We were out there for the festival. I know I had an issue, but it's okay. There was no cotton candy this year, and that was near and dear to my heart, but I still had a great time.
A lot of food trucks out there, though. I mean, it was
No cotton candy.
no cotton candy.
But no, thanks to your team, you know, we saw people from all departments. PD had a great presence there, but your team was running around. Everything stayed clean. Everything stayed great. We had a fantastic time.
Jordan's amazing.
Everybody.
Like, in particular, I mean, she works her butt off out there. So kudos to her, particularly.
Amy, for the third time, welcome back. I'm so excited. I cried when you left, and I cried happy tears when you came back. So thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Jim and Matt, I know the budget is a year-round thing for all the headaches that we have given you and all the work that you guys have done. I really appreciate it. You guys have great teams. You are fantastic. Thank you. And lastly, Gardner Gold has a duck race this Friday. Okay, Gardner Gold is our Special Olympics team and support and all that community. Their big fundraiser every year is a duck race. The ducks are no longer for sale because they have to count them. On Friday at 2:30, over 4,000 ducks will go into the lazy river at the Gardner Pool, and they will race around, and it is so much fun to come out and watch. So I recommend anybody that has some time on Friday at 2:30, come on down to the Gardner Aquatic Center and watch the Gardner Gold Duck Race, and then consider supporting them through whatever means that you have. Maybe buy a duck next year, but it's a lot of fun. I hear there's going to be a parade for the ducks to enter this year. So
A duck parade.
yes.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
I'm excited. I think it'll be a great time. So if you have time on Friday.
Well, they have their ducks in a row.
Oh,
No.
that's horrible.
It is. They don't, and it is a lot of fun to watch them all go around. That's it. Thank you.
Mark?
So I typically attend 2 or 3 fireworks extravaganzas every year, and ours is always the longest, and really, the show is always good. Everybody can get a good view. It's close, so I really appreciate that. I think it's a good time for everybody. We had a great time as usual. And then just to mention to the rest of council, I don't know who all made it and who didn't, but last Tuesday at KDOT's meeting about I-35 and 175th Street, US 56, they presented 3 different ideas. It's kind of like when we did Gardner Road.
Yeah, they're not exactly my favorites. Yeah.
I ended up spending, I don't know, 20 minutes talking to one of their consultants or engineers, and then with Kellen, we might want to smush a couple of them together or something. So just be aware that we're going to be looking at that this fall. And
I'm just wondering why
there's more to it.
Why KDOT chooses to overcomplicate.
Well, I mean, I
something
talked to them on each of the different plans for why
Yeah.
they came up with what they did, and they have legitimate reasons. But there's still wiggle room, obviously, between them. So kind of like when we just talked about the Spooey versus the diverging diamond on Gardner Road and so forth. So,
I remember.
Anyway, just it's coming. It'll be another conversation like that, I expect.
Can I have one more? Go back. Since you brought that up, sorry, Mark, to interrupt. We've talked about the bridge over Gardner Road. It was supposed to let in June, right? I mean, I know with this, a lot of people are like, oh, they need to do Gardner Road first. Well, that's still the plan. I don't know if you have any update, if that's still.
It did go out in the June letting, and I believe they awarded the contract.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's finalized yet. They are supposed to start work early fall, essentially. There's some contractual requirements that they're supposed to finish before the winter shutdown, so I would expect work. I mean, I can't put a date on it, but August, September.
Yeah, prep work in the fall, probably utility moves and stuff like that.
Just to get it out there.
So,
Thank you. Sorry.
But just tying that in, So, you know, we passed that in February of 2018,
I know.
right? And here we are. So, obviously, you know, we won't even be passing I-35s yet. And then that's going to be a two-phaser, just like Gardner Road.
Yep.
Right? So, anyway, a lot to look forward to this fall. That's it.
Thanks, Mark. And yeah, just thank you to all the staff, police, public works, utilities, everyone did a great job. And also thank you to Danica throughout the Independence Day time period. She was very good about getting things out and getting the message out. And so appreciate her for all that. So, okay, I've got nothing else. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion Deaton, second McNear. We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?